Hello and welcome to this trailer for the Oracle DBA Part 1 webinar, which covers both Oracle 11G Release 2 and 12C Release 1. My name is John Boyle. I've had over 30 years experience in IT. 11 of those years were in IT management, followed by the last 15 years which have been in training and consultancy, predominantly on the Oracle database. 6 of those years were spent working directly for Oracle University in the UK. Provided training courses throughout the UK and Ireland. Within Europe, notable events have been Paris, Brussels, Utrecht, Milan and Helsinki. And over to the USA, I've taught in Tampa, Monroe, Memphis, Chicago, Minneapolis, Madison, and also I've been to San Francisco, the HQ of Oracle, for the Oracle Leadership Circle. So this Database Administration Part 1 webinar does actually cover Oracle 11G Release 2 and 12C Release 1. And it's the first course where I've actually been able to combine the two releases to good effect. So I'll give you a brief introduction and then tell you about the course topics for the course proper. So it is one webinar covering the two releases. What I'm trying to do here is produce competent DBAs at both releases. So it doesn't matter whether you want to be in 11G Release 2 or 12C Release 1. Or indeed the best idea would be to go from 11G R2 and then further take the extra bits which are in the course for 12C R1 and be competent at both releases. If you want to get up to certification standard, the aim is take this webinar to become Oracle Certified Associate level, and then Admin 2 Part 2, which will take you up to the professional level, for extra revision material for certain topics which you may not be using as much in your workplace but are part of the Oracle certification exams. And then on stormtime.co.uk you'll also be given access to further revision material, some of which written by me and some of which written by other good sources of tried and trusted information. What I've done here is 11G subjects I've put in green. That's both on this trailer and on the course proper, and anything that's 12C is in dark blue. But anything that's common to both will be in black. But one of the things I'd like to show you here is in the 11G New Features Guide for 11.2, this is from the documentation, on section 4.4.1.7 it introduces Oracle Restart as a new feature. Part of that text is Oracle Restart provides improved reliability and automated management. And what it'll do is, if your instance crashes in single instance Oracle, it'll restart it for you. Things like the listeners and ASM instances, it'll restart those for you. If we go to 12C Release 1 documentation, we see in section 8.1.16 the deprecation of Oracle Restart. And further text on that is Oracle Restart is deprecated in Oracle Database 12C Release 1. The next release on from 11 Release 2, and is subject to desupport in future releases. So what I won't be doing is spending any time really on Oracle Restart. It's pointless you taking something for 11G when you know it's going to be removed anyway. But that's one example where if you want to take the exams, it could be part of the Oracle 11G exam. So I give you further information on that particular subject on my website rather than putting it part of the webinar. A further major difference between 11G and 12C, and again this is shown you in the upgrade guide for 12C Release 1, is in section 8.1.2 is the desupport for Enterprise Manager database control. This isn't grid control, and it's not talking about cloud control either. But Enterprise Manager database control, which a lot of DBAs use for single instance Oracle as the graphic user interface to do a lot of the admin tasks, is no longer available. You have got Enterprise Manager Express, be explaining both of them in the course, and EM Express is installed if you upgraded from 11G to 12C. Database control would disappear, but EM Express is there. One of the points about that is down at the bottom here. There's much less functionality from the Enterprise Manager Graph User Interface, Enterprise Manager Express, much more reliance on the command line. And that again makes it a lot easier for me to write a course which is for both releases. Because if you're using the command line, all we can do is use the maybe one or two new options for the command line, but the command line is virtually the same on both releases, where for Graph User Interface it would be quite different. So if you have got certification ambitions, but the Oracle 11G Certified Associate, it's the IZ0 1Z0052, 12C 1Z0062. The important point about this slide is not to concentrate on the exams at the moment or the certification, but just to show you in 12C you need the additional exam. You need one of these three SQL exams. You can either have the 12C Fundamentals exam, 11G Fundamentals exam, or the 1Z0047, which has been certified against 10G, 11G and 12C. But that just goes to show you how Oracle are now saying to you, you must use the command line far more in 12C than 11G. I've always been a trainer who likes people using the command line anyway. It's all too easy to go through a graphical user interface and click on a few buttons and you come up with a desired result without really understanding what's actually gone into that and what's actually happened. So on the topic course list, Module 1 we're really introducing the concepts and what's available to you. So we're talking about the Oracle product family for both releases, because the full functionality is really only there in the Enterprise Edition. You've got things like Standard Edition, Personal Edition, but the Enterprise Edition has the full functionality, but at a premium, at a cost. A lot of the functionality is options, and with Oracle, options mean additional costs. The Oracle Universal Installer. We're talking about optimal flexible architecture. It's a very good idea to adapt optimal flexible architecture. All that means if you've got many different databases, maybe on many different machines, many different operating systems, it's standardization of where things like the Oracle Home and the Oracle Base are, where things like your diag files would be for things like your alert logs. So it means very quickly you can go from one platform to another and everything should be, if you followed OFA, should be in the same place. Oracle Managed Files, again a very good idea. You may be forced into that at some stage due to maybe your backup and recovery routines. And again, we'll show you why that's such a good idea. Database Configuration Assistant to do things like to create a new database, or indeed to remove a database, drop a database. And then we do talk about Enterprise Manager, which is available to you. The real thing that we use Enterprise Manager for in both releases now is performance tuning. That really depends on whether you've subscribed to, in the Enterprise Edition, the tuning and diagnostic packs. Because without those you can't get into the screens, and those are only licensed for the Enterprise Edition. And then we come on to really starting to use the command line and talking about the Oracle Data Dictionary. That is your up-to-date documentation about your database. A DBA's got to know how to find your way around and find the relevant information in the data dictionary. And we talk a bit about the terminology we use in Oracle, and the database instance, the database itself, the background processes and the memory. So you understand what's actually going on when you start the instance, when you mount the database, when you open the database. And then, because I do like the command line, always use the command line, what we're doing is creation of two databases. One will be using the command line, SQL plus command line, for creation of an 11G database, and we'll also create a 12C database using DBCA. Now, these days, a lot of DBAs do use DBCA, but I again always like to do it from the command line, because then I can show you exactly what we do. Where do we specify the control files? Where do we specify the redo log files? If you just use DBCA, you don't really see that. You just end up with it being there at the end of it. Module 2, we're managing the Oracle instance. So it's really what you need to know day to day about how we manage this database instance. Initialization parameters. What are important parameters and important values for important parameters? And that's one of the good things again about this being a course on two releases, because you'll be able to see from 11G to 12C what are new parameters which you should think about. If they're new, they may be very good in the future. They may be good as soon as they come out. but certainly the parameters which have been removed or deprecated. Again, it's not very sensible to use them in 11G if they're going to go in 12C. Database privilege connections. One of the things that we're trying to do in Oracle databases in every single release now, including the two we're looking at here, is what we call separation of duties. Evidently we want to know how to have a controlled startup and shutdown. The alert log. A lot of admin tasks are noted in the alert log, as well as some error conditions. That again has changed in both 11G and 12C, where we shouldn't be looking at the text version anymore, we should be looking at ADR CI. Demonstrations, startup and shutdown. Many different demonstrations of that, parameter changes, and also the creation of a login.sql. So that's a very good, useful task that really introduces a lot of subjects and demonstrates them to you to full effect. Storage structures explain how Oracle stores information and introduce it to the term data blocks, extents and segments. And also some of these things are physical and some are logical. Control file configuration. Control file is a very, very important, quite small binary file, but critical for an Oracle database to survive. Look at space management. We'll also talk about critical table spaces. These are table spaces which Oracle deems as critical. Critical to you as well, but you may have table spaces which are, in addition to these, where you store your application data, your application indexes. They're pretty critical to you, those, but not critical to the Oracle database instance. Redo log files. They are there for both the performance of the database and the database integrity. So it's very important we understand what they're there, when they get written to, how we should configure them. If we configure them correctly, then we do have a bit of resilience, but a single non-multiplexed online redo log is the only single point of failure with an Oracle database which could cause us to lose committed information. We'll be talking about the FRA, used to be called the Flash Recovery Area, now the Fast Recovery Area. Introduce you to a subject which is really covered on Admin 2 a lot more, but automatic storage management. And then I'll give you a couple of demonstrations on database storage structures. Next module, talking about users, predefined users, and users which we define to the database, and how we manipulate the data with certain types of SQL statements, DML statements, DDL statements, and DCL statements. Talking about transaction commit and rollback, how we keep the database integrity. Resolving as DBA any locks and deadlocks that occur on the database, which obviously affect performance. We should work on the basis of least privilege. If somebody needs to do a certain task, they need the privilege to be given that task. We certainly don't want to grant every privilege to every user. We only grant them the privilege they need to do their roles. Within any Oracle database, we have the concepts of undo data and redo data. Undo data, the concept of it is it's a copy of the before image of the data before we update it. We need that for two reasons. First of all, potential transaction rollback and read consistency. So it's used for both data integrity and performance of the database. Redo, kept in the redo logs, online and archive redo logs. It is kept for, again, database integrity, but potentially rolling forward the database. The purpose of checkpoints is to control all that. There is a balance that we need to keep between acceptable performance and acceptable recovery. And the more performant we make the database, the longer it would take to recover if it crashed. So we've got to get a nice balance between those two. We'll talk about PL SQL. As we've mentioned, that DBAs these days have to know a lot more about SQL, and also DBAs should know about PL SQL. You can automate a lot more of your tasks with PL SQL. A couple of very interesting ones there, which are database triggers. Have a trigger, for instance, upon the startup of the database, and maybe a trigger on after suspend of the database. So when certain actions occur, we can cause certain code that we've written to be executed automatically on our behalf. And Module 6 is the only time, realistically, we're going to be using Enterprise Manager. OEM DC for 11G, OEM Express for 12C. Because this is talking about database performance tuning, and we talk about DB time. One of the most important things we can get from that is a thing called average active sessions. So we have to try and eliminate waits. And if we are using Enterprise Manager, and if we have got a license for the diagnostic pack, which is an additional pack for Enterprise Edition on both releases, then we can get some very good graphs, and we can get some very good information from the AWR, the Automatic Workload Repository. We can get active session history. And with those, we can get the Automatic Database Diagnostic Monitor. Of course, memory is extremely important, but it's important we allocate the right memory to the right memory structures. The main thing is the SGA, the System Global Area. What we can do is we can ask Oracle to manage that for us automatically with automatic shared memory management or automatic memory management, or both. And what we're doing with those is we're asking Oracle at runtime to shift memory from one part of the SGA to another depending on the workload. And then we talk about storage and recovery issues. We use RMAN from the command line. You can in 11G use RMAN from Enterprise Manager because it's in OEM database control. 12C is not in OEM Express. So we'll talk about RMAN. RMAN's covered in more detail on the Admin 2 course. And we've also got a webinar which is dedicated to RMAN. And then also we've got the Data Recovery Advisor. If we have a problem, we can ask Oracle to give us advice. It's using a very nice subset of RMAN commands. And there are numerous Oracle utilities which traditionally we've had the export and import from Oracle, where we can take data out of an Oracle database with the export and bring it into an Oracle database with the import. That's been extended at every single release. And we've got things like transportable table spaces. So we can actually transport a table space from one database and import it into a different database. We can even do that transportable database level now. But the export and import, the original ones, were very slow and also not very secure. So Oracle introduced data pump export and data pump import, and these are now taken over from the original two, and they use the concept of directory objects. We've got SQL Loader, which can load external data into an Oracle database very quickly. And we've got the concept of external tables, where we can select on data where the definition of the table's in the Oracle Data Dictionary, but the data is actually still stored in the operating system. So it saves loading in to the Oracle database. I mentioned this when we're talking originally about the alert log. We shouldn't use the text version of the alert log now. We should use the Automatic Diagnostic Repository Command Interpreter, ADCRI. Very useful, nice little product. You've got the DB Verify database verification utility, an offline verification of things like Oracle data files, maybe user managed backups. And the Oracle network environment is actually very simple to set up. You probably have network administrators on bigger systems, but to set up connections, either local or remote connections to the Oracle database. Now, I'll be giving you some examples using some of these. For instance, with the Oracle Data Pump, we're using transportable database and transportable table spaces. As a conclusion to this course, I'll be giving you quite an in-depth summary. I really want to talk about the real world after training. Training is important to me, but it's only important to me if you benefit from it. So we don't just talk about this course, we talk about the real world after training. I've got my own concepts about a database administrator. Any data administrator needs some input. Hopefully that's training. That's the most cost-effective method of getting you up to speed if the training is good and appropriate. So to become a good Oracle DBA, what I'm suggesting with my experience within the Oracle environment and with consultancy and training and management is this DBA Part 1 webinar. If you follow this through and have some experience of it, you'll be a good DBA. At that stage you can talk about certification and think about certification. But always concentrate on being a DBA first, and if you want to take the certification, think about that as a secondary issue. More important to be a good DBA rather than Oracle certified DBA. People can get Oracle certified without having real world experience, but it'll be found out at interview stage. Going up a level potentially is an Oracle certified DBA, but I'm not saying they're better than a good Oracle DBA. So a good DBA can get Oracle certified if you want to. What I'm trying to get out of people is them to become exceptional DBAs. Now, to become an exceptional DBA, what I suggest you do is first of all become a good DBA with DBA Part 1 webinar, and then you'll need the DBA Part 2 webinar. And these courses with the topics, they do match the Oracle 5-day events to a degree. It's just they are more selected contents based on my experience about what you'll use in the real world. But to become exceptional, you not only need the training, you also need experience. And I think that exceptional DBA can be a DBA with the relevant training and experience. What I'm talking about is these 2 webinars and probably about 12 to 18 months worth of experience with Oracle database. So you do need sources of further information, knowledge and experience. So the other thing we'll do at the end of Module 9 in this webinar is introduce you to the content and purpose of Oracle Database Administration Part 2 webinar, which again is for 11G Release 2 and 12C Release 1. But of course you do need other sources of knowledge. Evidently from my point of view, I'm a little bit biased, but I think these webinars are an ideal source of information, because what I've done is just put the information that you'll need in there and hopefully explain it in an understandable way. But you've obviously got courses, you've got public scheduled courses which are obviously extremely expensive. You'll be away from potentially home, you've got travel accommodation costs, and you're away from your business or from your families. Self-study, if that sort of thing suits you. A lot of people don't like self-study because it's not as interactive as it should be, because it is, as it says, self-study. And then further source of information, we've got to be very, very careful. You've got the internet. A lot of people say, Google something. Well, that's okay. But if you get into a site that's giving you correct information, that's fine. But a lot of them don't do. And textbooks. Again, textbooks you've got to be careful on. If they're well written, that's fine, but they are usually written with the beta release, very early release of the Oracle database, and it's only that individual's view of the functionality at the time and how well they explain it. Oracle documentation is good, download it. Of course, you can download the Oracle software yourself to experiment with it, so you get a single user development license with it. The Oracle documentation is massive though, so again you've got to know what you're looking for. OTN, have a look at that, that's where you do your downloads from, Oracle Technology Network. And Oracle by Example is written by Oracle University, and that is very, very good. Of course you've got, if you come on these webinars, you've got access to additional pages on the stormtown.co website. This is what I meant by sources of knowledge. If you're on the internet, are you getting information or is it misinformation? If you're looking at any reference material, is that correct or incorrect? And again, this could be textbooks, it could be documentation. Is the information you're looking at, is it intelligible? Most importantly, is it relevant? What I tend to do on my webinars is give you actual working examples which I go through. And if I can't think of a relevant example for a particular piece of functionality, I don't give you one. So, is it relevant or irrelevant? She says, okay, Oracle coming up with this brand new marvelous functionality in a new release, but is anybody going to use it? Have a think about Oracle Restart in one release, taking out the next release. Is the information you're looking at out of date? And most importantly, when you're looking at any output in a textbook or on a website, is the output listing for the examples they're giving you actually the actual output from an actual query, for instance? Or has it been doctored to suit their point they're trying to make? This is what I'm talking about, relevant and relevant. If they're giving you a usage scenario, it's hopeless if it's unrealistic. I'll give you an appendix as well on the 11G and 12C Admin 1 webinar, which is Appendix A, which is further information just simply pertinent to Oracle 12C Release 1. So all the way along it's a course that's relevant for both. Green is for 11G, blue is for 12C. Most of it is pertinent to both, but just in case you do want to go quite quickly onto 12C, totally separate appendix for what has been deprecated or desupported and what is brand new. Now within the course I don't really cover anything that's been deprecated or desupported. It's pointless. It's meant to be something that's available for both releases. I do give you information on some of those deprecated and desupported things on the website, the additional pages, just in case you may want them for peripheral knowledge. But the new features as well, we do cover some of them, but this is again more information. If I don't think they're very relevant to what I think you'll be doing in your jobs, based on my experience within the working environment, then I'll give you just additional pages within the Stormtime website. So that's the contents really of the Oracle Database Admin 1 webinar for 11G Release 2 and 12C Release 1. So good luck with your careers. Hope you'll go on the webinar. Thank you very much.